right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, in the wake of game number 1. And oh, look, we've got an intruder in the audience. The Sasquatch.
What a hairy guy. This is what Too Good and Bruno looks like when they come together.
Oh, I did not need that picture in my head.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
Uh-oh. Oh, my. So, moving forward to game 2 here. Fnatic versus Secret. Secret absolutely need a win here to take us to game 3 and have a chance to stay alive in the tournament. Did you guys feel like that last game was more of an outdraft or just an outperformance?
I think it's outplay with the one caveat, the 5th pick.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
I think in hindsight, probably both. I mean, outperformance definitely after that Roche fight, and then also looking at the draft and how well it came together, the synergy in all the ways they had to heal each other and save each other. I think it was sort of an outdraft. There wasn't much a Bane Elemental could really do.
Dire had like way better late game though. Like Wind Ranger had a 15-minute ag. Spectre.
Yeah, but if they can never take a team fight because
they don't have to. They just split push with Spectre. I mean, I don't really think they can get to the point where they can just high ground. They have
you met Phantom Lancer?
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't really think he can man up versus Wind Ranger at the same time. Like he went Diffusal first. Keep that in mind. Like he can't actually farm that quickly. I think the way the game that like it was going for 15 minutes, I would have put Secret to win it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, after the Roche fight, it kind of leveled out and became a completely different game. But you really think they had more carry power on the Dire side? A Phantom Lancer as well as a Shadow Fiend? I mean, that's pretty solid late game.
I mean, Wind Ranger is like amazing against BKBs as well as Repel. Like she's actually one of the few cores that can just tear through that magic immunity.
And then what about GA?
And then GA, I mean, you have Diffusal Blade. You can also get it on both of those heroes. I don't think it's that bad.
It's state dependent too. Those heroes were both behind, and they didn't have a lot of stacks for the SF. I kept looking around in the Radiant jungle for Mushi's comeback mechanism, and it wasn't there. And he'd gone mech first, but they didn't really punish him for it. He was able to get back into the game through team fighting.
Yeah, especially with those shackles that we had. If he kept them out through the late game, it would have been, I think, a pretty solid for them. But regardless, I thought that Secret they both had pretty good drafts. They both had pretty good game plans, and I actually think they make the first pick Spectre work out really well for them.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So looking forward to game 2. What are you hoping to see change? What does Secret need to tighten up to take a win here?
I think it's just, I really do, I hate to repeat it, but I think it just keeps coming down to cohesion and team play. I think these are really good players. I didn't, again, with the exception of the Leshrac 5th pick, I didn't think the draft was bad, but the execution in those key junctures just wasn't there. I mean, this is a meta where you have to execute between 15 and 25 minutes or you're going to lose.
Yeah, I mean, how much of that could you put on Misery? He played an okay Clockwork, but there were a few times where he hopped in perhaps a little bit before the team. It seemed like the communication wasn't quite there.
I feel like they were lacking damage output. I think for them to actually win those team fights, again, I disagree with the fact that they weren't outpicked. After we saw the game, it was pretty obvious that it was way too hard to take down anyone from Fnatic. So once Fnatic teamed up and went as 5, there was really not much they could do from Secret's side of things, even though Spectre had his Radiant. So again, I don't think it's all on Misery, granted that his performance wasn't as good as you could have hoped for a player from Secret.
Do you concur, Silent Merlini?
I mean, at the same time, if he had cogged that Dazzle at the Roche pit, he wouldn't have gotten the weave off, and they probably would have gotten the Roche. So that one small mistake probably cost him the game. I don't know if he tread swapped right before, maybe not, but it was really close to being a team fight victory for Secret. So I don't really want to pin it on Secret, or sorry, on Misery at all. I think their overall gameplay, I don't know, it seems very unpopular to go for a super risky Roche when they're in the commanding position. I don't know whose game call it was in that particular game, but it was a very unusual one, and they also had the medallion on Clockwork right at that exact instant. So they had planned it out for a good minute before that.
Yeah, no, that's kind of my thing. When somebody asks me about out picks, it's if the game turns on something that's that close. I mean, either or, if the medallion nerf hadn't been there, making Roche take it just a little bit longer, and if those cogs had been perfectly positioned, I think that game is completely different. That's why I have a hard time calling it out pick.
Well, some of that is just adjusting to those parts of a new patch where the medallion, it's a little bit slower on Roche, but really calibrating how much longer is it going to take us is something that takes time to develop for sure. I don't know. That was a rocky first game for Secret. I mean, to speak on the point that you made, Merlini, to me that just sounds like overconfidence. Like, okay, we're really far ahead. We've got this. Let's go for the Roche. Would you agree?
I mean, usually they have the Dazzle on their side, so they should definitely be aware that the Weave can't... They have so many ways to get vision. The Sigil, the Frozen Shards, Ice Shards, and then the Weave. So, and as well as Phantom Lancer illusions, they were constantly throwing them in there. So when you play against Eternal Envy, his antics, and that's what they do very, very often. So they can't get away with it anymore with the medallion nerf, I feel like.
Okay. Yeah. Now, normally this early in a tournament, I wouldn't even bring this up, the idea of pocket strats, but given that Secret are up against the wall, Do you think we'll see a change in the drafting strategy? Do you think they have any secret picks that we haven't seen yet that perhaps could be brought out here?
I think aside from the less rag pick, I think they very much went with what works right now in this version, and I don't think they want to stray too far away from that.
I think Meepo's maybe the only thing that we see that's different. Naga will be banned out, so that's...
Yeah.
And I expect the visits to be banned again, so I guess we'll never see... Should Fnatic end up winning this game as well, we'll probably never find out whether we had practiced the mid visits.
Yeah. You're really on board with that.
I am. I think it's a great hero.
I want to see it. I think pocket strats are very risky when you have a newer team that's not quite used to playing together. I really like to see that a lot more from veteran squads that maybe have had a chance to explore it a little bit more in scrims.
Okay.
Two heroes that have seen sort of new, or their skills being buffed, is Chen and Enchantress. Two heroes I think personally could work really well.
And classics. From
we know Poppy is, yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't be opposed to them doing a push strat.
Okay. Well, here we are, folks. Game number 2 of Secret versus Fnatic. Our draft is underway, and so far these bands looking eerily similar.
Tusk had to be addressed. He was nerfed in 6.85, but DJ just played him so well that I'd be surprised if they gave it to him again. One hero that he did actually spam a lot. I remember when I went to Korea, I was like, oh, who's Chrissy? And then Blitz was like, oh, he's just a Bat Rider spammer. And this was when Bat Rider was really strong, so they might turn to that again. I saw it was his most played hero in that Dota when you were looking up Chrissy.
They played in Taiwan a year ago in the MSI Beta tournament where his Doombringer was insanely good. And his Centaur Warrunner. So I'd like to see either one of those.
Okay, well, we do see a change of pace in the second bans here. Dazzle now banned out by Fnatic. And like you guys mentioned, Tusk was taken out. And it was interesting to see Ogre. That was the other band that Secret used alongside the Undying. Yeah. We were all kind of in agreement that Ogre perhaps not quite warranted for that early ban.
He's good, man.
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic.
No, I think he's good.
No, Ben is serious. He loves that Ogre.
Yeah.
I'm an Ogre hater.
He takes 2 heads, huh? No, first pick Bane for Secret, so they're going to stick to their guns, at least so far.
I thought they might want to run a Wisp strat.
That could be interesting.
We've seen a lot of teams turn back to Tiny Wisp after 6.85. Like, a lot of teams.
Well, and on that same note, I'm waiting for more teams to turn to the Bat Rider. Right now, it's basically just S4 on Alliance who is spamming Bat Rider anytime he can get his hands on it.
Ooh, a Darkseer.
Okay.
Yeah, the Darkseer by far the most picked and banned hero. There's all but one match that we've seen in 6.85.
I think an interesting thing to take away from this, especially from teams meeting Fnatic later on in the tournament, is that they first picked the Shadow Priest the last time around, and they banned it this time, knowing that Secret had the first pick, meaning they probably prioritized that hero.
It might just be for Secret, though.
Yeah, the Puppy Dazzle is extremely legit.
I think most teams play Dazzle on a very high level, and it's always annoying to play against.
I mean, he's been strong for quite a while now, so it's hard to be a top-tier team and not have someone who's pretty talented on Dazzle.
So why did he get buffed in 6.5?
Yeah, great question.
What do you think about the Spirit Breaker pickup?
I like it here. I think they did a lot with sort of a single target control zoning in the last match. I think Spirit Breaker gives them, again, you want to set yourself up so that if you win the vision battle, that it gives you a huge advantage. And Spirit Breaker is so instrumental in both providing and exploiting that vision advantage.
Andrew was mentioning the pocket strategies, and it seems to me like Fnatic has practiced a few different setups that works really well together. Yeah. And this might be another one of them. Like we just saw the Shadow Priest Omni Knight, and now we go into a Darkseer Spirit Breaker. Definitely, versatile in their lineups.
Seeing a Darkseer Spirit Breaker picked in tandem makes it pretty safe to assume it's a position 4 Spirit Breaker. Will be roaming pretty heavy. Can be a little bit risky, but wow,
there's the
good call, Merlini. A change of pace from Secret.
When you're one loss away from getting eliminated, it's a good strat to go to. You can't say, oh god, we got outpicked with Tiny
So if you're either team right now, do you go for mid bans or carry bans?
I think
you seriously think about banning Tiny.
I mean, what are the other really popular combos with Wisp right now? Because Fnatic will have the opportunity to take 2 out of those out of the hands of Secret.
Again, you gotta start talking about the CK, right? That change on paper to the crit, basically giving him a free Desolator. That's a big deal.
I don't think he's good versus either of the other 2 heroes, though. Darkseer and Spirit Breaker. I think he'll have a hard time farming, and picking Wisp into a Darkseer already is a little scary.
Yeah, I mean, that's Darkseer's specialty, putting a lot of pressure on those safe lane melee carries in the lane.
Yeah, and Wisp has no way to zone the guy.
I think either way here, Secret shouldn't be too worried about Black's anti-mage.
I would agree with that.
Okay, Gyrocopter now banned by Fnatic. Great team fighter that can pair well with the Wisp.
And the natural pickups of the Wisp is also fairly good against the anti-mates, and the pressure that Wisp can put on him with relocate very early on. It's a very hard game for an anti-mate to play here, and I'll be very surprised if Fnatic chooses to pick him. Queen of Pain still in the pool though.
A little bit surprised by the Gyro ban. I feel like Gyro, that call down nerf really it loses him a lot of utility against melee BKB carriers.
Yeah, though he still is pretty strong early game. He can still be a really good... I mean, as you mentioned before, this is a patch of winning those fights between that 15 and 25-minute mark, and that's still a part where Gyro
he still
really
does a lot of damage.
He also has the AoE to just blow up a Wisp relocate combo. Like, that used to be one of the really good counters.
Yep.
I want to see more Timbersaw versus the Wisp. But I don't think anyone has really turned to
Nahaz
that.
just groaned. I don't know if that was audible, but
It's
the very thought of a Timbersaw just made him shudder.
It's still such a high variance hero to me. It's always been a hero that if you get your Bloodstone early, it's amazing. If you get your Bloodstone late, it's horrible.
There's just so many good offlane heroes right now.
Yeah, that too.
I think stability is a big concern when you start talking about offlaners.
Yeah. So a TA ban coming out, Ember Spirit follow-up. So no Queen of Pain ban, no Visits ban, just putting it out there.
All right. Well, Fnatic will have the luxury of the first third pick here, and I wonder if they'll try to deny something that could pair with this Wisp.
If they could always just go Wyvern. Like Wyvern Darkseer, I think is still pretty good, even with the slight nerfs on both.
Well, why has Wyvern fallen off so much in 6.85?
She hasn't. That's the thing.
Really?
She's still top 6. She's still.
So I've just had a bad sample in the games I've seen, because I've seen her ignored quite a bit.
31 picks out of 84 games, 21 and 10. So she's still been really good.
But I think she's still quite strong in this patch, which is why I was surprised that she hadn't been picked more, to be honest.
Well, I mean, that's the problem that you always have to consider is okay, if a hero's ability can get nerfed and they can still really be good because the meta is conducive to them. And I think Wyvern is still a really good counter to things we're going to see a lot in this meta. I really like this hero, by the way.
Always good to have against a Wisp. Also, not so bad against the Bane as well. A couple of ways to interrupt the Fiend script. Great team fight utility. And I like how it works with these two heroes. Darkseer and Spiritbreaker are two heroes that can get ahead early on. And we know Disruptor really shines when you have an advantage. When they're running from you, that's when Glimpse is really potent.
I mean, Darkseer plus Disruptor is also like really nasty.
Yep.
Vacuuming them inside the kinetic field static storm is just brutal.
Yeah.
And you've even got the Spiritbreaker to make up for the lack of hard lockdown.
Yeah, it seems like a very obvious pickup here for the support combo. The only real downside of him is the laning phase, I think.
Wow.
Necrophos for
Team
Secret.
about that.
Third pick, no less.
Come on, Nahaz.
I'm a hater, man. I can't help it.
I like Necrophos.
Yeah, I think it just takes too long to come online. And he's too vulnerable until he does.
I think he sucks against Glimmer Cape, but now that Glimmer Cape isn't like super popular, it's not gotten like 4 times in a game, he's playable.
Do you run him safe lane here, though?
You know what's insane?
Why not? He's running versus Darkseer.
Picking up Chen and Juggernaut and just running down middle lane once everyone is 7 with a healing ward and the Chen heal and Necrophos and Wisp. And
you talking about for Fnatic?
No,
for Secret. Like a healing strat.
They'll have so much heal, you can't do anything. It's just a death ball of like full HP.
Fnatic could still pick an Ancient Apparition, though, which would make that much less fun.
Yeah, that's pretty much one of the few counters I would say.
I mean, they ran this in their early days with Kuro and Puppey, right? Secret did this a couple times and looked absolutely dominant in running the Necrophos. This is like a year ago.
For me, the thing about Necro is he's just so fragile, and not in the glass cannon sense, but that you have to hit your timings. You need to know when to group up as 5 and knock down towers and take fights, and when to back up and farm. Here, we'll see Fnatic try out the Leshrac with their 4th.
Yeah, and this is almost certainly going to be a core Leshrac now,
which is pretty good against, like, should Secret try and push a lot. That's a pretty safe pickup. Still surprised they wouldn't opt for the Queen of Pain instead.
Oh, man.
Nyx Assassin.
Yeah, they're pulling out all the stops. Yeah, the Nyx Assassin, again, a hero that on paper looks like it could be really, really good this patch. But
I mean, if you look at the heroes that Fnatic already picked up, Disruptor, Leshrac, Darkseer, not exactly heroes you want to play up against a Nyx Assassin's mana burn.
Well, no doubt about it. Secret is definitely changing the game plan compared to Game 1.
It's also really good in tandem with a Wisp. It's kind of like how teams like to play Wisp plus Bounty Hunter before. You look for a target, you relocate, you kill them.
Yep.
And none of them can really escape a Nyx once he like finds them. It's not like they can blink away once they see a relocate coming.
But is this going to be a solo offlane Nyx on the Radiant?
I mean, they could also just
that could
have
be really
them,
tough.
I think so. I don't see why not.
Could even be a Nyx and Bane. Again, Disruptor is not a very strong...
Yeah, it's
because the Spirit Breaker is going to be roaming around a lot, so they have a decent opportunity to just do a dual lane, off lane, and then probably leave the Necrophos on the carry and still pick a mid hero. That being said, it could also be a mid Nyx.
Yeah, I think this could be... I think that can be a really good thing to do against a Darkseer, is just to have... basically, you take away a lot of his power by having a ranged hero 1v1 against him.
Lone Druid, 5th ban from Fnatic. Wow. That one is surprising. He has not impressed me on this patch whatsoever.
Well, I mean, Black's a pretty fair Lone Druid player. I would have expected it to be banned against them.
With this lineup?
No. Shut up.
So we've talked about the positive sides of Dix Assassin, though. What are the weaknesses of this hero? I mean, there's a reason he hasn't been relevant in a couple of patches now.
He's melee and needs levels.
And he has sort of the same problem as Pudge. He has a hard time keeping... He can get a lot of kills, he can make a lot of noise, but he has a hard time keeping up in farm.
And he has a hard time ending the game. Not really known for his sieging prowess. And a Razor, final ban here from Secret.
Yeah, I actually like the Razor ban a lot.
They need some physical damage.
Razor is a very good pickup against 3 of the heroes on Secret's lineup.
I'm really surprised the Queen of Pain is still in the pool.
I don't think they scale well enough with Quap. I think Wind Ranger, I think, is pretty good here. OD.
Oh,
a classic for Mushi.
Oh, this is a Mushi hero from way back. He's
another Wisp counter
in the game.
Although Nyx owns him with like 800 damage.
Oh my god, just the mana burn damage output alone.
Yeah, it's risky for sure.
Can I throw something out there?
Please.
How do you feel about a Spirit Breaker call?
You know?
I feel good about it. He can really punish a Wisp, can really pick on a Necrophos, also great against the Nyx Assassin.
Where are you going to put him? You going to run a safe lane Darkseer and then just dedicated roam the 2 supports?
Yeah.
Probably. You're going to dedicated roam the Disruptor and the Lash? I just think I could be down with that.
It could be an interesting approach to it. I think they can go a lot of ways with what they have right now. So can Team Secret. There's none of the lanes are a given right now.
Shutting down Nyx is going to be super important, though. Like, if he gets out of control, all their lives are going to be miserable.
I still think it's Secret. You just go with... we was so good on Wind Ranger the last game, and I think you can go with that here. Oh my goodness, here it is.
Well, a fan favorite indeed. You can hear the crowd reaction to that.
Beautiful.
The Weehaw Meepo. Okay. Well, a completely different draft from Game 1, boys. A lot to digest. Initial reactions. Which draft is better? Who's taking Game 2, Milk?
I hope Secret is, just because Meepo thinks.
Yeah. I think you're seeing this is the beauty of single elimination. It's all on the line. Secret, take it.
I'll go with Secret this time.
All right. I will not only be devil's advocate, but I'm going to stick to my guns here. I think Fnatic are going to take this, actually. I have confidence in the Mushi OD, a hero that's much forgotten about, but I think still potent. But we'll see. An interesting matchup indeed. With that, we're going to hand it over to our casters, Cap and Blitz. Take it away.
Thanks, Yori. All right, Blitz. I don't have time to really mock you for making fun of my safe lane, Lesh. We actually have so much to talk about here. OD and Meepo as last picks. Let's start with the OD, Blitz. Where did that come from?
I mean, OD's always been kind of one of those, like, Southeast Asia mid-stalwarts. Like, if you remember in Dota 1, there was a guy named Silvercross, I think was his name, that used to play it pretty phenomenally, just to give some history. And it is kind of a Mushi hero. Like, it's the hero that lane dominates and can scale to the late game pretty decently.
Yeah.
But I kind of agree with them in that I think the Nyx, if Misery plays this right, and no doubt after that last game, I think he's going to kind of be refreshed and he's going to say to himself, okay, you know, I've got to pick things back up. And that mana burn, I'm just looking at Fnatic's lineup, like from top to bottom, with the exception of maybe the Spirit Breaker, and even the Spirit Breaker has such a small mana pool.
Yeah.
I think that Nyx is going to do work.
Damage-wise, Spirit Breaker won't be hurt that much, but for sure he's got such a limited mana pool that one mana burn could actually kill his combination.
Yeah, it destroys the Leshrac. It really hurts the Darkseer too, who cuts through mana so quickly, and especially in the late game, that Obsidian Destroyer is going to have some troubles. But I really like Secret's lineup. They went back to heroes that they're used to playing. For example, we've got Eternal Envy on Necro. I think he was the first person I saw go for that like double Ring of Protection build, you know, in the safe lane. And Weehaw, obviously, everybody knows him for the Meepo. I think I'm like 0-3 against this guy in solo queue when he picks it.
Yeah, definitely a big comfort hero for him. Can you talk about why the Meepo would be a very strong last pick against Fnatic's like such heavy intel lineup?
I mean, it's a good split pusher, and when it comes to team fights, they needed something to be able to burst. But at the same time, it is really fragile, and this is kind of just two lineups that really rely on snowballing.
Yeah.
Like, it's very rare that you see this where one team is usually going for one strat, the other is like trying to hit a mid-game timing, but both teams kind of really heavily rely on being able to win the laning phase and go out of that, just because heroes like Necro and Meepo are pretty greedy, and at the same time Fnatic has a really greedy draft with you picked like 4 ints into a Nyx assassin. I don't think that has to be explained too much.
Yeah, okay, so he's going to be playing the mid Meepo. Hold up here. Ohio's going to be caught here, it looks like. The kinetic fields is going to be able to block out Puppey and Pyladi's pursuit. He'll live with just 40 HP. Puppey and Py, are they still going to try and chase him down? Ohio's going to go for the deny on the neutral creeps, and he will be successful. So at least they force suicide out of Disruptor at the very least. But going back to it, Weehaw, they needed a good mid laner up against the Mushi OD. This seems like Meepo is going to do all right, comparatively. I mean, OD just always crushes his lane, it seems like.
I mean, you've got 2 of yourself, so what does the OD do?
Yeah.
I guess you can't use one Meepo very effectively, but you've got the other one. I don't actually know how this matchup goes because OD hasn't really been a relevant hero.
Being run down at the top lane, missed stun. Black, he's going to miss out here as that only Necro Pulse is able to pick up the early kill, and Ohio sends back Eternal Envy, but that's not going to stop those 2 supports from running down Ohio. All they need is vision right now. Ohio playing around the trees. What a beautiful juke. Is he actually going to be able to get away from this one? The brains out? No. It does go down. He buys a lot of time.
What's going on?
Black, can he actually be able to get any sort of kills? They're just going to keep running him down. The combination of Necropulse plus the Wiz, he's making them just too damn powerful. Black runs back into the tier 1 tower. He's waiting out the charge right now. Eternal Envy, he's being charged up. He's taking so many tower shots. Pylai die. I think they're just stuck here. It's going to be a 2-man death as eventually the Spirit Breaker is going to make his way in. They got to get out of here eventually, but they only have one Tango to work with. They're going to try and go for the tree block. They actually get it. They kill the tree. The Necropulse goes out. Net finally makes his way in. Goes straight for Pylai Die. Pylai Die is actually living though, and Net's going to be forced back. Unbelievable. Secret actually get away. What an innovative use of the tether to be able to break that one last tree that was blocking them from being able to escape from the side and do escape as a trio. What a dive from Secret.
That was, you really have to appreciate that more, because that was so surreal. It was like watching 3 Bambos play at once. They're just like all committed for a dive. They knew the Spirit Breaker was coming. They're like, all right, we've got 1 Tango, we've got 4 trees. How do we make this work?
Yep.
They're just like, okay, you fall really far back. The Spirit Breaker's coming. Like, they saw him coming too.
Yeah,
so they knew they were on a clock, and they had to like really quickly think of a scenario.
Yeah, the pressure was there. That easily could have been a double kill for Fnatic, but the fact that they were able to come up with that plan to throw out the tether, to kill the trees, to get out in time, I mean, that was just beautiful. And Fnatic, I mean, they're going to be feeling so much frustration now after that play. They just forced the Spirit Breaker up, lost 2 heroes in the process, and now Nyx Assassin, I mean, we talked about how Misery is going to be a pretty key hero here. At the bottom lane, he was just able to now free farm against the Darkseer. But we see a replay here. You could see the change up though. The 6.85 Necropulse being up. That damage at level 1 early on in those fights was so powerful. But look at that. Splitting themselves as much as possible. The tether comes in, breaks the trees, and then just the power of 3 range heroes against Net was enough to force him back, as tanky as he is. So
yeah, and another change was that suicides no longer count in the kill score, so it is 2-0. And we lost both Ohio and Leshrac, and so that top lane has already gone really well for Secret so far, and they needed it to, because if you run this aggressive tri-lane, they don't really have any disables, but they're still making it work just through the pure power of their dive so far.
Yeah.
And we're seeing even in this mid lane, things are going okay, because Weehaw will always have one of the Meepos available to work with.
Yeah. So he should be able to get most of the CS. You can see him throwing down some boosts. Top lane, nice double stun. Eternal Envy though, man. The early power of that combination of Necrophos and Wisp, they have just so much sustain. Looks like they're actually going to try and run down Ohio here. Eternal Envy gets another right click, and yeah, Ohio will be taken out. It's the last one coming out from Eternal Envy. And remember, he does have the early level of Sadis. He picked that up at level 2, so every single one of these kills, Eternal Envy is getting a huge buff in region.
The thing is that Fnatic is in a really awkward spot because they can't really get a kill here. Because there's so much sustain up here. You've got a Bane who's got the Brain Sap, he's got the Nightmare available, and he's got a stick. I think the other 2 heroes have sticks as well, and Necro is a hero that is deceptive, because you think, okay, he's got 606 HP, not a whole lot of armor, but then he uses 1 heal, the Wisp comes in with the tether, and then all of a sudden everything turns around. And so it's not even like Fnatic can really go for these kills, because the turnaround potential is a little bit too high, and that's what's happening so far.
Yeah, I mean, a 250 HP heal on the Necrophos when he's tethered up to the Wisp, and then the Wisp is missing HP as well. It's a pretty absurd amount of sustain coming out. Fnatic right now, a little interesting. Fnatic are still keeping net in the bottom lane. Is it really necessary for them to keep that much pressure on Misery, or is it more the fact that they feel like they can't even bring the Spirit Breaker up to this top lane to win it?
I mean, what would the Spirit Breaker contribute to this top lane? Like, he goes up there, charges one, he doesn't really have burst damage or anything like that. The Disruptor doesn't add anything to this lane, really. So you've kind of got two heroes that just kind of meander around. It's better to try to put pressure on the map, let that Spirit Breaker rotate between mid and bottom, and hope that your other two lanes win. Because that's what you're kind of banking on right now, is that your Darkseer does well against the Nyx, which he is, and hopefully your OD does well enough against the Meepo that you're offsetting that top lane advantage. But Secret have done such a good job, they even pull the creep wave themselves to make sure that they can go for the double creep wave kill, go for this tower, and that's a 4-minute 52-second tower, and this is going to open up a lot of possibilities now.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's another thing we were talking about. We saw Necrophos not too long ago, you and I asked you about the potential of the Necrophos, the safe lane farming Necrophos go for the max out Sadist early on. Ohio is going to take a bit of damage, actually almost goes down. Another right click from Highlight Eye would have been able to get the kill, but Disruptor will barely escape, and last Puppey, he was actually going to try and sneak behind the tier 2 tower, but he's blocked out by Black, who saw that one coming a mile away.
I think it's just the... Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah, just the Sadist. Talk about he actually goes for the level 2 rather than the early Heartstopper.
I guess he just thinks that it scales a little bit better.
Yeah.
And he's actually now going to go for the Death Pulse again. But I kind of like at least getting one level of Heartstopper aura, but I guess in this tri-lane you don't really need it too much when it comes to harass, just because of the sheer amount of kills that they're getting. And so I think in that regard the Sadist will pay off a little bit more. Just being able to lane sustain as much as possible. Like, he can't really use the chicken on the off lane like that, so he probably just has to sustain for as long as he can by himself.
Now, what kind of builds do we see on safe lane Necrophoses? Because we already have an early Vitality booster. Is Bloodstone still an item despite the fact that it got some nerfs?
No, I think Bloodstone is okay against if he was on the other side of things, but I think the Rod of Atos is actually really good just because they lack setup a lot of the times, and being able to Rod of Atos early on, especially when you've got Fnatic who don't really have heroes that are going to get early BKBs, like that's the core here. Look at the Leshrax farm. He's still struggling to get a Soul Ring. He's got just like an empty Ring of Protection. There's no way that he's going to get a BKB anytime soon, but if you're Eternal Envy and you've got like a sub 12-13 minute Rod of Atos, how do you actually counter that?
Yeah, now you've got some like super long range initiation that isn't based solely off of the Nyx Assassin, who can be a little bit iffy on initiation. Obviously the Meepo is going to come in as an initiator later on into the game, but you still have to wait for that full Aghanim Scepter Blink Dagger build. DJ is going to be caught here. They managed to land the Impale very nicely. The ensnare goes out, and boom, boom, boom. Weehaw picks up the first kill for himself.
And that was the weak part of Secret's lineup so far, is that this safe lane Nyx was kind of getting bullied a lot by that Darkseer. He was doing okay for himself because of the regen in it.
Ohio! He's going to be able to live through that ultimate, but the follow-up damage will still actually kill him. Now Black still isn't good enough to be able to face down these two heroes. Net, he comes in going straight for Pylite Die. Mushi's actually going to come in, and do they have enough burst damage? They finally take down Pylite Die, and Eternal Envy is left in a nasty spot against 3 other heroes. If Black can land this stun, they can actually go for the kill, but Black has to play careful still around Eternal Envy, who's got some magic wand charges. They lead with the OD, Astral Imprisonment, follow-up stun will be able to land, and Eternal Envy has no more mana to work with, throws out the wand charges, but it doesn't make a difference. Mushi gets a double kill, great rotation by him.
Yeah, that was just a little bit too over-aggressive by Team Secret. Yeah. Part of the issue with continuing to run this aggressive tri-lane is that you are eventually going to get punished by it when the mid laner is able to rotate in. At the early levels when Mushi's like level 5 or level 6, of course it's not economical for him to go for these plays, but it's 8 minutes into the game. There's no issue with him going up there to secure a double kill, especially on a safe lane carry.
Right.
Like if your safe laner was somebody equally greedy, then maybe it's not as good of a play, but just because Misery's playing that Nyx Assassin, you can just kind of focus all your efforts on being able to kill the Necro.
Misery actually spends a lot of time going for the bottom lane rune, but he does pick it up, a haste for himself. Actually sacks a lot of golden experience to the tower, and also some tower damage. Is already down to half HP, but he figures the sustain offered by a full bottle refill, I guess, makes it worth it. And who knows where that haste rune is going to be able to come in handy. He already has the TP scroll ready to respond to any sort of aggression in the mid or top lane. Do you think they should start rotating Misery out now that he is level 8 and has a lot of host of his abilities to bring to the table, or do you think they wait out and have him farm up, say, that early Blink Dagger?
I don't think you have to get that aggressive just because your Nyx is getting like an unusual amount of farm. He's actually getting pretty leveled and pretty farmed in. In this game, it's going to matter a lot, just because you notice that he's going for maxing the mana burn first, and Weehaw.
And, I mean, he's still not charging out of here, and he's done for. Puppey picks up the kill off of the Brain Sap. And Weehaw just gets a little bit more assist gold to work with. He already has the point booster, level 9 as well, so he's very rapidly going to start clearing through this jungle.
You do have the mech completed now on the Outworld Devourer. The problem, though, is that usually you could kind of maybe go for a 5-man here, but just because Black is so underfarmed right now, like, this is pretty much what you'd expect out of a support Leshrac at this phase of the game.
Yeah.
Like, this is a slightly underfarmed support Leshrac right now, if you want to compare it. He's got 12 CS right now, he's died already, 2 assists on him, but those don't really count. As Eternal Envy just continues to press forward, and they're going to go for the charge on Pylai Die, but I don't know how successful this is going to be just because Mushi's so far behind.
At the same time, in the bottom lane, DJ's actually dropping pretty low. Misery had the haste rune earlier. They will be able to get just enough mana on DJ to get a surge, but is he far enough ahead? It looks like Misery can still land the stun. Oh, just short there. And Misery is going to be forced back. Charge out on a Pylai Die. They have the tether ready to go. Eternal Envy trying to keep Py alive, but he's... Nope. See you later, Die. Eternal Envy actually get Astral Imprisonment. That's because
Weehaw
smoke up is coming in. Weehaw throws out the net, misses one. Puppey's also coming in. They have the Fiend's Grip for it, and there's no response from Fnatic. They just let Mushi die.
Yeah, he's actually going to get deleted too.
That is perfect. They get the Reaper's Scythe, deleting the OD for an extra 30 seconds. Back to bottom lane now. DJ again in a bit of trouble as Misery just needs to be able to land this stun. DJ desperately trying to dodge it, but doesn't happen. Highlight Die helps out Misery, and they'll finally be able to pick off that Darkseer.
It's 10 minutes into a game and that OD's dead for a full minute. That's so annoying. And they're also going to steal this massive stack. This was the comeback stack for either the Darkseer or the Leshrac, completely taken by the cores, and Eternal Envy now has the fully completed Rod of Atos, and this is just going to make fights even harder.
Ohio slept up here, and they're just going to go for that quick support kill. Just throws out the kinetic field, but there's nothing else he can do, and it feels like Disruptor is really maybe the big downside here for Fnatic. His lack of early laning phase presence is just costing Team Secret so much.
The issue is that Disruptor is one of those heroes that don't do well when they're behind it all. Pylai Die is going to be the target here at bottom.
Is there no TPs in? All right, we're finally going to have the Meepo TPing in. Pylai Die has a tether target. In fact, he just turns and fights, hoping to be able to bait someone to push forward a bit more. Meanwhile, the rest of Team Secret 4-manning into the middle lane. That tier 1 tower is gone.
This is a pretty rough sign right now when you commit 2 heroes that should be able to kill a Wisp, and he just kind of repels them back. Doesn't even die within that charge combination. He's got 2 charges at the Urn as well. Is in pretty healthy shape so far. And when it comes to the farm, he's doing just fine, and they don't really have an answer to this Meepo right now, because Weehaw, like, if you're an OD, generally the way you get out is just, you know, you Astral run away, but because he's got like 3 of them at all times, it's almost impossible to get out.
Yeah. Eternal Envy will be running into Mushi here, but he does have the backup. He's actually going to go for the meteor Rod of Atos. The charge comes in, and Nat is actually going to be able to fight him with the Seer, but Weehaw comes in, the ultimate goes down. Mushi still managed to live, gets off the ultimate just before he dies, but it doesn't matter. With the help of Pylai Die, Eternal Envy easily stays alive, and Team Secret win yet another skirmish. I mean, it's bad enough that they need to shut down some of these heroes like the Necrophos and the Meepo, and these heroes are kind of spread out, farming up all over the map, but now they're getting a ton of kills on top of everything else. Ohio, Rod of Atos is going to be slowed down, the stun misses, but it doesn't really matter because the Fiend's Grip holds him in place long enough for Necrophos to get another kill.
And this Leshrac again, he just hasn't had any room to recover. He's got 2,800 net worth. He's actually behind the Bane, and yeah, this is a slightly underfarmed 4-position player right now, if you want to look at it like that, because his comeback stack got taken away. Leshrac is a hero that really relies on still being able to snowball. He's gone for the Max Edict build, so he can't even get up close and personal and use that ability. And the split push just isn't there, because he's against a Nyx, a Meepo, and a Wisp, so the relocate plays can happen. He's not tanky enough to be able to survive by himself against the Nyx. There are just so many issues right now with this Leshrac.
Is 6.8 time? Are we going to see a return of the pipe? It did get some slight buffs here. DJ is going for it. It seems like with that Hood of Defiance already being built. Is this the way that Fnatic come back into the game, just overemphasizing teamfight potential between the mech and the pipe?
I mean, that's what they did in the last game. They've already got the mech completed on the Obsidian Destroyer, so it's not as prevalent for them to have to go for it. Yeah. You don't really have anything else to go for on DJ, so going for the fast pipe is okay, but you've still got a lot of physical damage to deal with too. A ton of Meepos. He's got the Aghanim Scepter now too. That's just another wrinkle in Fnatic's game plan. Like, they are struggling to kill one Necro, but then he's got 4 Meepos and the Wisp coming behind him as well.
That Wisp is actually getting a good amount of farm. Choice of treads here. So just maxing out the stats, I guess, for Pylai dying. He also gets the urn. Not terribly surprising there. But that's a little interesting. I mean, I guess this Wisp is more farm than we usually see out of Wisp, but a lot of times you see Wisps not even go for boots right away or just regular boots for a large period of time. Tranquils also being heavily favored.
Going for the Trinkles, I guess, are okay, but he just wants to make sure that he doesn't get bursted down by anything. Like, if the OD ult hits him and he just crumples, he wants to make sure that he can survive at least for a little bit. But again, they can just go for this tier 1. They've got enough strength behind them to just continue to barrel down, and I think Fnatic's game plan is just avoid fights for as long as possible, wait for Secret to overextend, and play around the fact that you've got 2 pretty tanky cores in DJ and Mushi. You've still got a mech, and you've still got some disable on your team, but
that's going to be so hard with Secret now, rocking 2 different Blink Daggers, one on the Nyx Assassin, and the other one being picked up by Eternal Envy's Necrophos. They're going to make the initiation in the top lane. A great Disruptor ultimate. They will have to relocate on top of that one. Misery is immediately targeted down, but Mushi is left to the Fiend's grip once again. More TPs come in from Team Secret. They're going to see if they can catch any more heroes with Weehaw and the Haste Rune. They actually have the ability to catch someone here, but it looks like Fnatic have split themselves just well enough to keep all 4 heroes alive.
You trade your tier 1 tower bottom and your OD just to kill the Nyx. I don't think that's worth it, but Fnatic getting out of there was pretty good.
Yeah.
I almost thought that was actually going to be a lot worse, but it looked like Secret for a second were hesitant to continue to chase across the wall. But it was actually Fnatic that was just backing up. Just like, there's no way that we're going to take this fight early on. We just have to get out of here with whatever we can. And 1-for-1 trades are probably okay for you at this point. Like, that's about as good as it gets.
Rotation around Puppey and Pi. Do they actually have the power? They don't have Fiend's Grip yet. So they can hold him in place for a while with a sleep maybe and see if they can center up. The urn is taking him down. If they get another Brain Sap, DJ is definitely dead. He doesn't have a TP yet for another 20 seconds. He's just going to be hit by the balls constantly until Pylai Dai gets a dominating streak. That is the worst sign in the world. If you're a Fnatic fan, a Wisp with a spree at all is a bit absurd.
Yeah, and he's going to get the pretty fast Glimmer Cape too. This is a Pylai die that I thought was going to be pretty underfarmed, especially since Puppey's going for this mech, and it's actually going to be Secret that are just going to go for the Death Ball. Like, they've almost got a mech completed on their 4th-position Bane, which is pretty ridiculous right now.
Relocate's coming out, and Pylai Dai's brought Puppey. They're going to turn things around, go straight for Ohio. Ohio does manage to lock down Weehaw. They have to take out this Meepo, but the sleep comes out. Defensive sleep, and Weehaw's going to be able to stay alive through all of that one. They've deleted the Leshrac. Mushi's going to be caught in the Fiend's Grip as well, and Fnatic just crumpling at the seams now.
He's got no charge.
17-4. It's going to be made an 18 for Team Secret as they're going to try and run down net. Looks like a charge away. And he gets some distance, but he's heading over to Pylai Dai. Pylai Dai, he's like, fight me. I've got an urn. I've got the balls. Let's go, big boy. Unstoppable spree for Pylai Dai.
That's like the weirdest situation where you run away from a Necro and it's even scarier to run into a Wisp right now.
Yep.
And he's actually just got the fully completed Glimmer Cape now, and Secret realized the advantage that they have is near insurmountable. There's not a huge game-changing spell anymore in the game aside from the Darkseer, but he's pretty underleveled right now. Does have the max vacuum wall, but he doesn't even have follow-up, and everyone's just going to filter in. DJ's going to go down, and there goes your last hope at being able to get some sort of wombo combo off. And with OD not having his ultimate anymore either, that 105-second cooldown is such a killer. The Wisp is going to just keep everyone healthy, and once the Meepo comes back up here, I don't really know how they continue to hold.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Puppey, the Bane, has arcane boots as well as a mech is probably one of the more frustrating signs for Fnatic. Eternal Envy does have another 2,400 golds. Let's talk about Necrophos built a little bit more. Once you have that, I really love the choice of the Blink Dagger on Eternal Envy, but you probably need to start standing up now. At what point does Octarine Core become a focus item for you? Because I'm sure that's got to be one of the big powerhouses for him.
It's okay. He's actually going to go for...
looks like, is that a Veil? Yeah, he goes for the Veil. A lot of players have actually been experimenting around with the Veil a bit more.
I think it makes sense when you see a pipe coming out on the side of Fnatic, and so much of your damage is centered around magic damage.
Sure.
So being able to negate the pipe, or at least a large effect of it, is going to be pretty helpful. Going for the Aghanim Scepter this game isn't as necessary anymore, just because you're in such a strong position right now that it's not necessary to delete somebody.
Yeah. As you can see, Team Secret really shouldn't have a problem dealing with this next objective. As the rest of Fnatic really spread out.
I like that they're going for the Roshan instead of just immediately going and squaring up for that tier 2 tower at bottom.
Yeah.
But Fnatic are just going to use this time to try to split up the map, farm as much as they can. They know, even if they know that the Roshan is up, there's no way in hell that they take that fight. Like,
right.
You pretty much just give that up, wait for the high ground defense, and just play around. Secret maybe getting too over-aggressive at this point. Like, a lot of times teams might go for the smoke, but it's actually going to be Secret that are going to go for the smoke, try to get aggressive. And
yeah, quick pick off. Misery is going to finish him off with a blink in, mana burn, and Disruptor. Definitely one of the more dangerous heroes when it comes to pushing uphill. The problem's going to be, it's probably a first world problem if at best, but Disruptor has a very low death timer this early on to the game, so they're actually going to go for a relocate. At top, Misery is going to try and catch him out, and they'll get DJ. They have the ultimate from the Necrophos. Bye-bye DJ, down for 75 seconds now, and they've caught the OT as well with Weehaw sneaking in through the back door. Will be able to get another one, 22-4, 20 minutes in, over a kill a minute for Team Secret, and Eternal Envy's really not slowing down. Brought back to that middle lane, tries to catch the Leshrac, but without vision, won't be able to set straight.
I mean, this is just a much more coordinated Secret this time around. It really feels like everybody understands the game plan. Everybody knows where they're supposed to be. I felt like in the first game that they played, they might have gone a little bit too overconfident with the start that they had, and things started to slip a little bit. But this game, they're pretty focused. They understand without the Darkseer, again, that's the hero that's been kind of keeping them in the game. Like, the vacuum wall is always pretty scary, but with that down, there's not a whole lot that they have to worry about. And look at
nice.
Weehaw just
double jump. Weehaw's going to be able to pop the Disruptor. Unfortunately, he's hit by the ultimate, but doesn't mean much. He's still got so much to stay in the mech. The Necropulses come out, and even Pylai die ready to go with the tether at any point. So this is going to be a tier 3 tower dropping Fnatic. I'm not even sure if you try and contest this with only 3 heroes up. It seems like just a game loser.
Nah, you pretty much have to give up the Strax and hope for the next fight, though. I don't really think Fnatic can afford to just give up 2 sets of racks without fighting.
Right.
The next racks, when you have all 5 heroes up, you've got most of your abilities up at the same time, wall's about to refresh, then you 100% take the fight, and if you lose it at that point, you pretty much just have to call the game.
Pilot Eye's like, I like your pipe choice. I'll go ahead and pick one up for myself. Straight Hooded Defiance, already completed pipe. And Team Secret gonna force a round 2. Misery on the front lines. They get the charge on, right on through to Puppey. They're gonna try and pop immediately. Won't be able to get it quite yet. Oh, what a 5-man vacuum right to the wall. But is that going to be enough? DJ makes the biggest of plays, but it doesn't seem to matter. Fnatic are still being run straight back to their fountain. Net's gonna be caught by this Fiend Script. Charges right on through, hits Eternal Envy. Doesn't have that ultimate anymore, but it looks like they'll still catch Mushi as well as Net surrounding these heroes. And Fnatic, they know it's all over. If you can't get it with a 5-man vacuum wall like that from DJ, then you're never gonna win a fight.
You pretty much just had to try at least that one time to go for it, and again, if it doesn't work out, this Meepo was pretty insane.
Yeah.
He just kind of ran in, nobody could really stop him. You disrupt one, he's like, okay, well, there's 4 more of me.
And so Fnatic may have to think about start banning away some of those signature heroes like Weehaw's Meepo. But a rough time for Fnatic in Game 2. What an upset in Game 1, taking down Team Secret. A great way to start this series, but I think morale-wise, they really got to be hurting. Do you think, Blitz, that a lot of this just comes down to the draft and how rough the laning phase was for Fnatic?
Oh, for sure. That Leshrac pick is a safe lane. This is the issue, that once you get behind even a little bit early, and Secret understood that. They're like, we'll go for the aggressive tri-lane, and they played that aggressive tri-lane so well. That was like the funniest thing I've seen at that top lane, where they just went for that dive. They all understood what they had to do. It just feels like the chemistry is really in sync.
Let's talk about the viability of certain heroes like the OD mid as well as the safe lane Leshrac. Do you think those heroes can still be potentially popular? It's just that this game wasn't really a good representation of what they can pull.
It just kind of got outpicked because you've got a Meepo mid, you disrupt one, you know, he's got 3 that can continue to net you and chase you, and that's the strength of the OD, is that that's your only escape mechanism.
Yeah.
And once you have that taken away, it makes your hero so much weaker. And then on top of that, you're playing so many in-cores against a Nyx Assassin who, credit to Misery for standing up in that bottom lane and doing fine against that dual lane. Like, he was still comparable in CS to the Darkseer.
Yeah.
I'm almost certain he was only 4 behind when Weehaw went for that bottom gank. That's insane. And then that bottom, or that top lane, obviously, Black was just never given any space to recover. They even took the stack that they had set up for him as a comeback stack. Just no way for him to get back into the game.
All right, well, what needs to change for Fnatic to provide the upset in game number 3? We'll see what the analysts have to say over at the Alpha Draft Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Cap. Oh, man, what a tough game for Fnatic fans around the world now. We're all squared up. We're going to go into the ace match where the battle for elimination will be there. So many things went wrong for Fnatic that game, and I want to start again with that broad question. Was that more of a draft issue or an out-execution issue? Because this one felt much more draft-related to me.
That was definitely out-execution, I gotta say.
Okay,
again,
please.
disagreeing with everyone else, I don't know. I think Secret just played it amazing, right from the top lane, where they just went aggressive. As Blitz was saying, it's been a while since we've seen something like that. And just all-around great play by Secret. Then, of course, the Meepo later on shining, but I think it all came down to those first 5 minutes. They were very pivotal to how Fnatic just...
But at the same time, they didn't really have the tools to deal with it in their draft.
I think I'd like to be bold and predict that we won't see a less rag pick in Game 3. I think that's safe to say. I don't think this
I don't think Fnatic's going to play it, at least. Maybe Secret will pick it, but that was rough.
It's good as a support, I think, sometimes.
I think there's much better options all around. Regardless, Secret played amazing. It also seems as if Misery was a lot more comfortable on the Knicks compared to the clockwork from the game earlier.
I thought it was all. I thought it was all the Necrophos and the Wisp.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I haven't seen a team run that hero duo nearly as well since Secret did it about a year ago when they had Kuro playing carry Necro.
Yeah.
They ran that combo a couple times, looked really good doing it, and this was harkening back to that. And you got to kind of think that Puppey brought back some of the old guns.
Yeah, I really like the item build that Envy went for as well. The first item, Atos on the Necro, especially when you're that far ahead so early on, it's an incredible item. The stats you get really help you out. You can be very aggressive, and it's pretty hard to get away from a Necro with an Atos that early.
It's his build.
It's his build? Yeah. This, conversely, the Spirit Breaker to me felt like he just didn't have a spot in that game. It seemed almost every charge he made, it was figured out by Secret. When they knew it was coming, they were able to react to it. At that dive up top, they knew that charge was coming. They were able to position themselves accordingly. What do you think, Merlini?
They had no damage. Black was super timid on the left side. We were talking about it, like he doesn't seem like he's played the hero much at all. And I think you did that Dota. It was like 5.
Yeah, it was like
maybe.
It's his 6th career game.
Yeah. So this is a point where things are already pretty rocky. Ohio manages to get off his ultimate before he dies here. It looked potentially like maybe they can kill Weehaw, but then no, all the control comes in. Black takes the Reaper's Scythe. Mushi gets caught by the Fiend's Grip, and at this point, it's just abundantly clear that Fnatic just don't have the tools to shut down this roster.
Yeah, they don't have any burst, and when you're dealing with like a Necrophos and a Wisp, you have to kill heroes like really, really quickly, or you have to have like sick execution with your maybe Astral isolating some of them, but they have really good things to...
This is possibly the most depressing part of the entire fight, though. Net charges away, almost lives, and then dies solo to the Wisp. Pylai Die gets a freebie there.
Yeah, great play from all of Secret. The game doesn't show it, but Ohio actually played a pretty good disruptor.
I
all
agree.
things considered, like
But what are you going to do? It's the same thing. It's the same problem that Spirit Breaker has. Is that if your cores get behind as a 4-position Spirit Breaker, if you don't have any damage or disable backing up that big charge, I mean, you just lose your big play potential.
I mean, did we even see another strike that game? I'm not sure if we did.
I can't remember one.
Yeah,
Ohio was the disruptor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were commenting on the Spirit Breaker.
No, I was commenting on the Disruptor and the Spirit Breaker kind of having the same problem that those two heroes, both, they can make really big plays, but they can't make really big plays when their cores are behind.
Right.
No, that's the big deal. No, that was also the 8th career win for Weehaw on Meepo, tying No Tail for the career lead.
Ah, okay, the race is on. Not something No Tail's been playing much recently, but perhaps we'll see it again this tournament. Now, the one thing I think Fnatic could have done is maybe rotated either to help the top lane or just sack the top lane. That's something Merlini mentioned when we were off camera.
After you give up like 3 kills, you're just like, okay, this lane's over.
Ended up being sacked anyway. Lush was like level 1 at 4 minutes.
Yeah, but Lush isn't a hero you can sack, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah. He was the lowest level at one point.
It's crazy.
Despite being played by Black.
Yeah. And the one other honorable mention I want to make is DJ that game. He went pipe first. And that piqued Merlini's attention. He said, well, pipe? Maybe? Wait.
There were 2 pipes that game.
Yeah. So... Pipe, an underloved item. It was cool to see him go for it, but they were just too far behind. It just wasn't.
It's a fine item choice, especially when the OD already has the mechanism. So I don't think I think it was the correct item choice.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You guys were hating on me. I like Pipe. I just hate Hood.
Yeah. No arguments here.
Okay.
All right, fair enough. So with that, folks, we're going to take another break, and then coming up next will be Game 3 between Secret and Fnatic. This is it. It's all on the line. We'll see who moves on and who goes home.